Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin here at Trumful Reads, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about my soon-to-be participation in the Sagalong, even though I'm like 2 weeks late. It's just a really cool readathon that I want to participate in. And if you can't tell from my shirt, I think it's a different shirt than I've ever worn on my BookTube channel, my Fenrir shirt. It's all about Viking and Icelandic sagas and Norse literature, which I just think is a really cool topic to do a readathon about. And there are 5 hosts, and I wrote them down so I didn't forget anyone. But we got Lena Mekradina, Mark at Richardson Reads, Lukash at Totally Pretentious, Crystal at Biblioatlas, and Steve Donahue. And over the course of the month of February, there are 4 pieces of Icelandic or Norse literature. I think one for each week, even though, like I said, I'm way behind already, basically. That will be read, and people are just going to talk about it and stuff. And let's just get started with the 4 that are suggested as the prompts. The first one is Eric the Red Saga, and this gives me a chance to bust out my Sagas of the Icelanders, which is just a collection of about a dozen different sagas and tales and stuff from Icelandic literature. But Eric the Red Saga is in here. And for those who don't know, Eric the Red Saga is a little bit about... Actually, no, the Saga of the Greenlanders, I think, is more about discovery of Greenland. I think Eric the Red Saga, I have read it before. I think the majority of it is actually... The emphasis is on sort of the discovery of Vinland and Markland, which, if you guys don't know, is North America, probably Newfoundland up in Canada and stuff, near Alonzo Meadows where they landed. And basically kind of the story of the first European actually being born in North America before they are basically fought off by the natives inhabiting that part of Canada, and basically have to go back to Greenland. But it is a really cool, just interesting, kind of quirky saga. Pretty short read if you guys want to check that one out. And for the second week, which I think is ending as I'm doing this video, is Saga of Gunnlaug Wormtongue and Raven the Scald. And that is also in here. However, I have never read that saga before. I haven't actually read through the whole book. But I have absolutely no idea what that one is about. I think I might have heard of it once, to be honest. But usually I think it was called Gunnlaug Serpent Tongue, but I assume it's the same one I'm thinking of. But I've never read it, so that'll be really interesting to read that saga. And the third saga type thing is King Harold Saga, which is actually kind of the... I don't want to say narrative, but sort of the narrative of King Harold of Norway, or Harold Hardrada, which means hard ruler, from Snorri Sturluson's Heimskringla, or History of the Kings of Norway. And you gotta take some of that with a grain of salt as well, even though I say narrative. King Harold was known to have basically gouged out the Byzantine emperor's eyes because he got in an argument with him. Probably didn't do that. But King Harold, Harold Hardrada has a really, really, really interesting... it's hard to overemphasize how interesting his life was, even for a Viking kind of ruler. Basically, he went to become a captain in the Varangian Guard in the Byzantine Empire, fought all over the Mediterranean, went back to Norway, became king of Norway, and then probably is most famously known for dying at Stamford Bridge. Harold Godwinson before King William the Conqueror beats him a month later. But that'll be a really cool one to read. I don't actually have the Heimskringla, which is kind of a disappointment actually in my library here. But I'll probably have to either read that one online in the public, since it's in the public domain, or I sincerely doubt my library has it by the time Interlibrary loan gets there. It'll be just a complete mess. But like I said, 2 out of those 3 are in my Saga of the Icelanders, so I thought that was pretty cool. And then the last piece of Norse literature that is a prompt is to read the Prose Edda, which is also by Snorri Sturluson, and that is all about... he almost kind of wrote it as a workbook for... by the time he wrote, Christianity had basically mostly overtaken sort of the Norse paganism from earlier times. But a lot of as a skald and poet and basically author, a lot of the kennings, which were sort of the literary allusions and stuff that a lot of the poets and skalds and stuff used were kind of being forgotten, or no one really knew what they were talking about because the original mythology was starting to not be understood or learned anymore. So Snorri Sturluson kind of compiled like this sort of just mishmash of things, basically relating to the Old Norse mythology and stuff. So that's really cool. I actually don't own the prose Edda either. I do have the poetic Edda, which is in a similar vein. It's all about this is basically a compilation of poems describing the Norse myths by some anonymous author, or it's just kind of like one of those things that probably like evolved over time. But some of the things like the Voluspa and stuff are in the Poetic Edda, which is essentially like the history of like the creation of the world to Ragnarok and stuff. So I don't know if I'll read the Prose Edda or the Poetic Edda since I already have this one. And actually, I think I want to say I've read most of this one and most of the other one as well for classes, but I'm not sure if I've ever read either of them like all the way through. But I haven't quite decided what I'm going to read out of the two Eddas, either the Elder Edda or Snorri Sturluson's Younger Edda. Haven't decided quite yet, but I thought this was a really cool readathon sort of idea to do a bunch of Icelandic or Norse sagas, things like that. Just thought that was just a really interesting thing. People should definitely go check out these Icelandic sagas. I like to describe to people who aren't familiar with like medieval literature and stuff, these are almost like the original like adventure novels in a sense, before like novels and books were really being published. Obviously these weren't necessarily written down exactly at the time they happened, and there's quite a bit of embellishment going on and stuff. But overall, like they're like almost like family histories in a way, and they are. I don't know. I just think they're really cool. Lots of stuff going on, lots of action going on. I just think they're really fun. So I think you guys should definitely go check that out. Even though I know I'm like really late to the party, as in like it's already been like over 2 weeks since like the Sagalong started. But like I said, I just thought it was a really cool idea. I hope you guys at least go check out the channels and stuff, even if you're not gonna read any of the Icelandic sagas. I encourage you to read maybe like one of them because they are quite short. You could definitely read it in just like one sitting. In like an hour or two, like Eric the Red Saga, I think it's only probably 20 or 30 pages. So I just thought it was a really cool idea, and I decided, I definitely need to join, even though I didn't like make a video for a week or two, but better late than never. So there you guys have it. I'm going to try and read a couple of these in the month of February to participate in the Sagalong. And whatever you end up reading this month, always remember, read victoriously.